Hey guys, I hope you guys are having a good weekend. Sorry I didn't get these posted last night. It's still fairly early though today, and this will be posted, and I'll have your message out to you probably within the next 10 minutes. So this next week we are going to spend some time working on what we've already done, because I've been noticing in the homeworks and stuff that you guys just aren't ready to move on from graphing and finding the equations of the line and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to just go back and we're going to do a few more things with some of the stuff we've already done. And hopefully that'll get you ready to move on from graphing. So today we're going to call this equation graphing linear equations 2. Let's go back over these formulas again because these are really important. So plan on having a quiz next week covering some of the formulas that we've been looking at. So the first one here we have is slope-intercept form. And again, these names for these equations, a lot of times they give you the required information that you're going to need to be able to use them. So today, or the first one is going to be slope-intercept form, which means I'm going to have the slope and the y-intercept, which I actually broke down for you here. So m is our slope, which we're going to say is rise over run. And when you think of rise, you think of going up. So up and down on the axis is your y value, and run, when you run horizontal, you don't run vertical. So the run is going to be in regards to your x. That's an easy way to remember it. B is your y-intercept, and we know that any point that falls on the y-axis is going to have an x value of 0, so it's going to be the point 0b. So let's go ahead and let's look at an example now. So we've got negative 3x minus 2. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to do the exact same thing I did the last time, where I'm going to give you a couple different ways of being able to do it all in the same problems. And that way, hopefully, those of you who you'll find one way that you like to do it, and you can go with it that way. So I would recommend, alright, so let's start first. We need to graph our x and our y axis. Now, with linear equations, it's always just going to make sense to put them right in the middle, because there's going to always be positives and negative numbers in linear equations. So here's my x and my y axis. Okay, and so once I get this graph, whenever you're graphing a linear equation, you typically want to try to start with the y-intercept. So our b is negative 2, which means it's going to be the point 0, negative 2. And that's going to be the first point that I'm going to graph. So I'm going to go down 0 to negative 2 right there. I'm going to put my point. And I'm going to go ahead and write that into my chart just for my own personal sake. Now my slope is negative 3. Okay, so the first way we're going to talk about doing this is what we've already done with the graphing of functions and all that kind of stuff. We're just going to pick a random value for x. Now remember, whenever we pick a value for x, if this, the coefficient of x, the number in front of it here, if this is a fraction, I want to pick a multiple of the denominator. If it's not a fraction, I can pick any number I want. So I'm going to pick negative 1. And I'm going to plug negative 1 in now. So I've got y equals negative 3 times negative 1 minus 2, which means y equals, this is going to be 3 minus 2, which means y equals 1. So this is going to be one of my next points. Now you don't have to mix and match them. You can use the same method each time, and that would be perfectly fine. But I'm showing you a couple different ways of doing it. So that's one way. You can just pick random numbers for x and plug them in. The other way is I can use my slope. So my slope is negative 3. Make it a fraction, y over x. So this means I'm going to go down 3, and I'm going to go right 1. So let me change this over again. Hold on just a second. For some reason this thing is being a pain today. Oh, this is going to be a little bit bigger. Alright, so now I'm going to start here. I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go right 1. And I'm going to put my point right there. That gives me a point. Now I can also, so let me go ahead and write this point in, which is going to be negative, or it's going to be 1, and negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I was going to do one more point, I also could go backwards. I could start here and I could go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and left 1, which would put me right here, and that would give me my a point on my line as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to graph this line now. And once I get the line graphed, the only thing left really to do at that point is to just work on getting there we go. Once you get the graph done, then the only thing left to do is to label your points, which this one is going to be 0, negative 2, this one will be 1, negative 5, and this one here will be negative 1, 1. Okay, and that's the equation of my, or the graph of my line. Now doing example 2, you got to remember this is what we call standard form, and it's not easy to graph in standard form. The easiest way to graph really is in slope-intercept form. So we want to look and try to use slope-intercept form. So in order to do that, I need to get it to be y equals, which means I have to solve for y. So I'm going to subtract 4x to both sides. I get negative 3y equals negative 4x plus 9. Now I'm going to divide by negative 3. And I'm going to get y equals negative 4/3 x minus 3. So again, we're going to go ahead and graph our x and our y axis. There's my y. There's my x. The importance of putting the arrowheads on is to show that the graph continues. It doesn't stop. Okay. So my very first point I'm going to graph is going to be my y-intercept, which is going to be the point 0, negative 3. So we got 0, negative 3, which is right there. And now let's use our slope. So I'm going to go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right 3, 1, 2, 3. Puts me right there. And I get that because my slope is negative 4/3, which means down 4 and right 3. And that is going to be the point 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I want to show you something too. We're going down 4, so just subtract 4 from negative 3. Negative 3 and negative 4 is negative 7. 0 plus 3 is 3. I don't know if you noticed that. Now let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and just use the slope again, and we'll work backwards. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, sorry, 4, and left 3, 1, 2, 3, which puts me right there. I'm now going to go ahead and graph my line, and there it is. And again, when you're graphing, please use a straight edge. I do not want these to be nasty, ugly lines. So this is going to be the point 1, 2, 3, negative 3, 1, which would go right here. This was 0, negative 3, and this one was 3, 7, negative 7, excuse me. And that's how we graph these. Okay. make sure you guys do this. I want to see steps. If you do not have steps written down for your notes this next week, I will not give you credit at all. So you need to come up with your own steps. I want a couple of them, at least 3 steps written down. So get that done and come to class prepared to work on Monday. Have a great weekend.